And good afternoon, producer Susan. You getting ready for fall? It's the Labor Day weekend coming up in a couple of days.
First day of school was yesterday. When does schools in Jersey start? Mhm.
They started yesterday as well, I believe,
Yeah.
because I saw the school buses on the road. And you've got the first Penn State is the first football game of the season. What, this Saturday?
This Saturday we're playing at home against Nevada.
Nevada. Have you? I know you got some tickets you were trying to sell. Did you get rid of those tickets yet?
No, anybody wants to go to Nevada? Hit me up.
Well, so to State College to see Nevada play. Okay.
Yes, yes, in-state college.
All right. Well, good.
At the house that Joe built. Not to
Uh,
be confused with Jersey Joe.
all right. You want to hear what we're going to try to talk about today, if we can get it all in?
Yeah, what's on the agenda?
Well, first of all, just for the record, today's August 26th. We're 6 days away from Labor Day. Fall is around the corner. It's already 72 degrees here and a nice breeze in New Jersey. Um, Quote of the week this week is from our old friend economist Thomas Sowell on the difference between what socialists promise and what they deliver. We're going to follow that up with a quote from the late President Ronald Reagan on why socialism always fails. So we're going to have back-to-back comments on socialism, one from Thomas Sowell, one on from Ronald Reagan. Let me ask you a question. You watch the news every day, right?
Yeah, I try to, yeah.
Did you see the story in the national news about the illegal immigrant in Florida who made an illegal U-turn and killed three people with his tractor trailer?
Oh no, I did not see that.
Well, that's why we call it the situation with Jersey Joe, news and perspective you won't hear on TV. Now, by the way, I did a Google check of all the national news. Now, of course, Fox News covered it. ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN did not cover the story about an illegal alien with a commercial driver's license who made an illegal turn on I-95 in Florida, killing three people as a result of his
Oh.
illegal turn. And again, that's why we call it news and perspective you won't hear on TV.
I did hear about the illegal Uber driver. Did you hear about that one?
No, where was that?
Oh man, I forget where it was. But he assaulted the passenger, wouldn't let the passenger in the car, and turns out he was here
Oh, yes.
illegally and also had an illegal driver's license.
Yes, I did hear about that now that you mention that. Okay, thank you for telling me that. Remember last week we told you about how Kansas City, after pouring $18 million down the drain, they finally closed the city-owned and operated grocery stores?
Yes.
Well, we'll tell you what other experiment that they killed this week that Mondami also wants to do. So I'll let you figure out what the other thing he wanted to do is. Does the name Killmar Abrego Garcia ring a bell?
No.
He's the guy that was deported to El Salvador, and the judge says bring
Oh
him
yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we'll
Yes,
tell you.
yes.
He had a court hearing yesterday. We'll tell you where he stands. Um, we have a clip from the late economist Milton Friedman, Nobel Award-winning economist Milton Friedman, on the one single thing that has lifted more people out of poverty than any other thing ever invented by man. And I'm going to guess that neither you nor anybody else who's listening to this podcast at this point has a clue what that one single invention is. Did you want to take a wild guess?
No. What I'm
Okay.
curious. I'm curious.
Well, you'll find out if you keep listening. And last but not least, there's been a dramatic increase in copper thefts. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, I know that copper's been a hot commodity recently.
Well, in the past 9 months, the price is up 35 cents a pound. I think copper,
Wow.
let me tell you how much a pound of copper is going for right now. Hang on. Price of copper. I remember about a year ago, it was about $3.
Hmm.
Price of copper per pound uh, is in some is pushing clean copper is pushing $5 a pound. And that's led to just a surge in copper thefts.
Mm.
And we'll tell you where it's worse and some of the havoc it's causing. And did you send me this taxpayer relief shot out of Houston, or was that somebody else?
Must have been somebody else.
All right. Well, this one, two thugs impersonating police officers attempt to stage a home invasion. And guess what state they tried to do that in? That always winds up with them being dead right there.
Uh, Probably a Texas or Florida.
In Texas,
Yep,
Texas.
yep, yep.
Yeah, two thugs dress up as cops and try to stage a home invasion dressed as cops, and it doesn't end well. All right. So you ready for a quote of the week by Thomas Sowell?
Mhm.
All right. So here it is. He said, the history of the 20th century is full of examples that countries that set out to redistribute wealth only to wind up redistributing poverty. Now, how succinct is that? That's always the
Yep.
promise.
Yep.
We're going to take from the rich people and we're going to give it to you, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, everybody winds up poor. I think last week we talked about the headline that the speculation now is that maybe rabbits can save Venezuelans from starvation because there's no more meat, no more dairy, no more chickens.
Mhm.
They've already eaten all the pigeons, and that's what happened. The first it was Hugo Chavez, and then it's what's his name? Anyway, they've got. I'm trying to remember the current dictator down there, but they all started out, to tell the poor people, we're going to take all the stuff from the rich people and give it to you. And right now they've got the Venezuelan diet where you lose 20 pounds every 6 months
Mhm.
because there's nothing to eat. That's also, by the way, where they have universal health care, but if you step on a rusty nail, you'll die because none of the hospitals can afford to get tetanus vaccines from the manufacturers in other countries because their currency is worthless. So,
Which is a 1,000% preventable illness.
illness, yeah, tetanus is 100% preventable, but if the pharmaceutical companies say, um, if you, yeah, we're happy to sell it to you, but please don't bother trying to buy it with us with your bolivars because your bolivars are worth less than toilet paper. So
Yeah.
that's the state of the country right now.
I mean, everybody in America gets a tetanus shot every 10 years. And then, of course, if you do step on a rusty nail, you always get a booster shot.
Yep. But right now, stepping on a rusty nail in Venezuela is fatal because
Yeah.
none of the hospitals have any tetanus vaccines. All right. So we've just done two things about um, uh, socialism, and
Mhm.
here's Ronald Reagan on a really quick quote from Ronald Reagan on socialism. Here we go.
Socialism. Socialists believe humankind would be better off without economic freedom, and so they seek to replace it with rules and regulations. And if there's one tragic lesson the 20th century has taught us, it is that the social engineers cannot tailor the human soul to fit the fashions of the present day, no matter how they try. For the truth is, men cannot design humankind. We call this idea socialism.
And this gets back to in every communist or socialist regime, it's always something called central planning. The government's going to decide out what's going to be produced, where it's going to be produced, how it's going to be produced. There's never any competition. If it's cars, you're going to have one government run, look at what competition has done to everything from cars to television sets to refrigerators to cell phones. Do you think you would have the TV today at the price with the features that they have at the price you can buy them at if there wasn't competition?
Oh, no, not at all.
What's the motivation for people to spend the R&D money to replace a cathode ray tube with a flat screen?
There isn't.
To put wireless on it to increase the resolution of the dots per inch. It was only competition that drove the manufacturers to continually improve. I mean, every year they're coming out with better resolution, more features, second audio
Mhm.
programming. That only happens when you have competition in a centrally planned government. You only have one car manufacturer, one refrigerator manufacturer, one telephone manufacturer, one TV manufacturer, and that's why socialism, always falls behind, and the people are the ones who suffer. So, any other comment on Reagan or Sol?
No, I mean they're both absolutely right, and I know you're going to talk about the Kansas City. Well, we talked about the last couple of weeks the Kansas City supermarket, same kind of
Yep,
that socialist
yep.
mentality of like this stuff is not free. Somebody's paying for it.
Somebody's paying for it. And
Money's got to come from somewhere.
well, since you brought it up, I'll do this one out of sequence. So remember, we talked last week how the city-owned and operated grocery store failed after $18 million. Well, here's the other thing that they tried that Mondami's been promoting and promising. They started doing free bus service. So you can just get on the bus for free. Well, guess what happened? They started this in 2020. They took some of the COVID relief money they got from the federal government and they spent $50 million, but the city is discontinuing because they can no longer afford it. So they were the first in the country to institute free buses. But here's what happened: local funding dried up. Riders and conductor, both riders and the bus drivers, slammed the buses as quote unreliable, filthy, rolling homeless shelters. If you go from charging a fare to not charging a fare, ridership, of course, goes up, but you end up with a degradation of service, said Ken Girardin, a fellow at Manhattan Institute. So why does mayoral candidate Zoran Manami believe it would be turn out differently if implemented the same plan? And by the way, talk about the homeless. If it's cold or it's raining, and there's no shelter you want to go to, where's a nice place to go to just get warm and out of the rain?
Subway.
Jump on a free bus and just ride the bus
Yeah.
all night.
Yep.
So they became rolling homeless shelters, with some people even urinating in the buses. I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the bus is riding around because there's homeless people on it, sleeping on the bus, or it's be raining or cold. They became literally rolling homeless shelters. Why does Zarhan Mandami thinks it would be going to turn out any differently?
I don't know, because he also made a comment about the subways too, about moving the homeless there too. I was like, that is absurd. Why would you do that?
Yeah, the subways are bad enough in New York. I used to ride the subways when I worked in Manhattan, but you wouldn't catch me going on the subways today. Have you ever ridden a New York City subway?
Oh yeah, that's I mean, I think since COVID they got worse.
Oh yeah,
Back in the days of Ed Koch, they were not great. I think Giuliani did a good job of cleaning up the city, but then COVID happened and
right, right. Yep. So it's going downhill. All right. Now we call this news and perspective. You won't hear it on TV. So here's a story I checked. This did not make NBC, CBS, ABC. So last week, an illegal alien driving a 18-wheel tractor trailer. On the interstate highways, you see these turns that says for emergency vehicles only, where the police or
yeah.
the
Hmm.
well, he apparently missed his exit, and because he didn't want to go ahead and pay the toll and get off and get back on, he decided he was going to take his 18-wheeler across one of these emergency, one of these little median crossovers. Well, when he did that, he pulled in front of a minivan with three people in it, and they couldn't
Oh,
stop in time, and the three people in the minivan died. Now, it turns out he got his commercial CDL, commercial driver's license in California, but here's the strange thing: when he was interviewed by the police, he couldn't speak, read, or write English. Now, in every state that I'm aware of, you have to, since roadsides are all in English and these message signs, you have to be able to read road signs. How did
yeah.
this guy get a CDL license in California
Yeah.
if he couldn't read, write? And now you talk about the stupidest thing I've heard all week. 2.5 million people. So this guy, reckless, driving a tractor trailer he wasn't qualified to drive, kills three people. Somebody started a petition demanding that the courts give this guy leniency, that they sentence him to probation. You want to guess how many people have signed that petition?
Oh, I'm sure there's thousands.
Try 2.5 million
Oh my
people.
gosh.
2.5 million people have signed a petition. They're asking the governor to pardon him. They're asking the court to just sentence him to probation. So, I mean, who are these 2.5 million people that think
Yeah.
this guy should get leniency?
I mean, he broke the law. He committed, I mean, that's manslaughter.
Yeah, it's reckless endangerment resulting in death.
Yeah.
Now, did he know it was emergency vehicle only, or didn't he know that little cut through? So we'd have to speculate. Why did he decide to take that turn in his 18 wheeler on that? Those little where the cops cut across to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so the question is, was he aware that was an illegal turn, or was it because he couldn't read English and didn't see emergency
But
vehicle?
like you said, I mean, he got a CDL. Like, how did he get a CDL license?
Yeah. By the way, one of the cops there gave him a little quiz. There's like a CDL test, like a 20-question test, and the
Mhm.
and the police officer trying to gauge whether or not he was qualified said he couldn't even answer half of the questions correctly. Now, how much of
Mhm.
that was a language barrier? But anyway, so that's the state of that. 2.5 million people want the governor and the courts to give this show leniency. All right. As long as we're talking about um, socialism. Let's go to Milton Friedman, the late Milton Friedman, Nobel Award winning. And I was surprised. He said this is the single greatest invention that's lifted more people out of poverty. And I'm thinking, what was it? The wheel? Was it? Was it the match? What was it that? Was it the cotton gin? I'm thinking of all these inventions that have lifted people out of poverty. And he surprised me. And let me make sure I got the right clip here. Here we go.
To the essence of capitalism and its relevance to the question of humanity. As I say, the essence of a capitalist system in its pure form is that it is a system of cooperation without compulsion, of voluntary exchange.
Now, think about that. Cooperation without compulsion. In other words, if you want to cooperate, if you want to do something for free, it's voluntary. It's free exchange. If you don't like the job, you don't like the product, it's all voluntary, right? So here we keep going.
Of free enterprise. But the essential character of a capitalist system is that it relies on voluntary exchange, on your agreeing with me that you will buy something from me if I will pay you a certain amount for it. The essential notion is that both parties to the exchange must benefit. This was a great vision of Adam Smith in his Wealth of Nations, that individuals, each separately pursuing their own self-interest, could promote the social interest because you could get exchange between people on the basis of mutual benefit. I go back, however, to the essence of capitalism and its relevance to the question of humanity.
So that's in the loop. It's starting to loop back. But what do you think about that concept? That's why capitalism, which has lifted more people out of poverty than any other invention ever made by man, is based on this concept of cooperation without compulsion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it certainly motivates people to want to be better and do better.
Right. And it also leads to things like, have you ever heard the phrase creative destruction?
Mm-hmm.
That's when something that's not working or is not working as well as it could gets destroyed and overtaken by the bigger, better mousetrap. It's called creative destruction. And again, creative destruction never happens in a communist government because there's no competition. There is no better mousetrap. So that was Milton Friedman. And he and Thomas Sowell are two of my favorite economists. Do you have a favorite between those two?
I feel like, well, we mentioned both of their quotes, each of their quotes on this show regularly.
Yeah, they're both really great.
Mm-hmm.
How much time we got left?
Oh, you got like 15 minutes at least.
Okay, good. So let's go to Killmar Abrego Garcia. So he's the guy that this has been back and forth in the news. He got deported to El Salvador. He got brought from back to El Salvador. Anyway, here's the full story. He had a deportation hearing in 2019. And in following that hearing, the judge issued a removal order. It's called a deportation. It's called an order of removal. So he had his due process. Now, at a later date, he appealed it, saying, I don't want to be sent back to El Salvador because I fear gang reprisal. Now, this is a guy who claimed he wasn't a gang member. Mm-hmm. So the judge said, okay, we're going to amend your order of removal to exclude El Salvador. Now, where the Trump administration screwed up is about 2.5 months ago, they deported him to where? El Salvador, which is his home country. And then his lawyer said that was in violation of the court order that says you can't deport him to El Salvador. So they had to bring him back. Well, however, that did not negate the 2019 deportation order. So now the whole thing, so last week, the Justice Department said, well, we still have a valid deportation order. Oh, and by the way, and he's currently under indictment. A grand jury indicted him in Tennessee for human trafficking. All right, so he's under indictment for the felony human trafficking in Tennessee. Now, the Justice Department said, if you agree to plead guilty to that indictment in Tennessee, they'll drop it. Well, they'll close it with no jail time, and we'll deport you to Costa Rica, which is a Spanish-speaking country. Again, they can't send him to El Salvador. But if you don't plead guilty, there's very, very few countries in the world that will take people who have been deported by another country. Like if France
Yeah.
deports somebody, you think we're going to take somebody that France is?
No, not at
No.
all.
Australia's not going to take anybody we deport.
Yeah.
So there's very, very few countries in the world that will take somebody who's been deported by another country. Well, Costa Rica has, and we've reached an agreement with Uganda, the African nation of Uganda. For a fee, they will take people that we deport. So the Justice Department said, if you plead guilty to the human trafficking charge in Tennessee, we'll make sure there's no jail time associated with that plea, and we will deport you to Costa Rica, which is a nice place. Your family in El Salvador can, it's not too far of a trip to come visit you, and everybody there speaks Spanish. But if you don't plead guilty, the only other option is Uganda. You pick an African-speaking nation. And he declined that. So he had another hearing yesterday, and while the judge there couldn't vacate the 2019 order of removal, she did give his attorneys a week to contest the original order, even though he had a hearing and he was present at his hearing. So that's where it stands, that he's in Maryland right now, living in his brother's house, and hopefully by this time next week, he will have had his second hearing and he will get deported. And I, quite frankly, hope that he winds up in Uganda. I think that's, he could have stayed in El Salvador, or he could have gone to
I don't
Costa
understand
Rica.
why he can't go back to his home country.
Well, he claimed when he appealed his deportation order, he couldn't get the deportation order overturned, but I think he was playing a game. Well, I don't want to go back to El Salvador because I fear gang reprisal. Now, this is a guy who said he's not a gang member. So what's your rationale for claiming that you fear violence at the hand of gangs in El Salvador if you're not a gang member? Well, so that was the path he chose to make, thinking, well, where else are they going to send me? Well, guess what? They got two other places they can send you. So so he's kind of made his own bed right now. So I can't see any reason why his deportation order won't hold up. And he's going to wind up.
I think he should just go back to his home country.
Well, he would have to drop his objection to El Salvador. Okay. Because right now he made the pleading and the judge consented. And she amended his original deportation order.
And again, like if you have a choice between going to another country that's not your home country where they actually speak your language, why wouldn't you want to go there?
Well, that's why I thought I'd bring this up. It's a convoluted case, and that's where we are. All right. All right. Let's talk about copper thefts. I've got a little clip here this is from, by the way, you want to guess what state where 1/3 of the copper thefts are taking place?
I'm gonna say probably, what is the fastest growing state? Tennessee.
No, not the fastest growing, where there's very little penalties for crime.
Oh, probably California.
Here we go.
It's a metal,
California?
it's got a lot of uses, and it costs a lot more than it used to. Perhaps that's why a significant amount of the copper supply these days has been stolen, often from public utilities or even private homes, and that is affecting people all around the country. Chris Van Cleve spoke to one of them who was victimized after a disaster.
Over here, for me, right now. When a wildfire swept through Hacienda Heights in 1989, it burned through most of Diana Arnold's hilltop home and more than a dozen others.
Cell phones didn't work, but landlines did. And so landlines become a lifeline.
Until that lifeline was repeatedly cut off last year by copper thieves looking to sell telecom wire for scrap. Copper prices have surged as much as 35% over the last year. These were the phone lines that were cut, that big
Right
cord?
here, right here.
How long did you not have your phone service?
At least 6 months.
6 months.
It was off and on, and they would fix it, and usually it would go out the next day.
The increasingly precious metal is a lucrative target for thieves and an easy one. Copper is used in everything from phone and transportation lines to street lights. Nationally, copper theft has become a nearly $2 billion a year problem. In Texas, thieves impersonated utility workers, dragging the copper-laden cables as they drove off. Los Angeles started a heavy metal task force targeting copper thieves and those buying the stolen scrap metal with state prison time. LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman.
We're going to go after the metal recyclers and either shut their businesses down or put them in prison, as well as the thieves themselves.
The 6th Street Bridge was known as the Ribbon of Light. That is until thieves stripped the copper wiring out of it, leaving it in the dark. Prosecutors believe they made off with about $40,000, but it'll cost the city millions to fix it.
The problem has also turned.
Can you imagine they steal $40,000 worth of copper, which they sell from underground, and it's going to cost millions of dollars to replace it? So
Deadly. When General Hospital actor Johnny Wachter was shot and killed last year trying to stop a group of car thieves, the street was dark.
That entire scenario where they thought they could steal a catalytic converter literally under the cover of darkness was fueled by the copper thieves.
Back in Hacienda Heights, Diana Arnold has given up on a landline.
We have gone to an internet provider for our phone service.
Do you worry about if the power goes out, though, that your phone line goes out?
Of course, yeah.
As the trouble on the line keeps coming back to the growing value of copper.
So, do you hear much copper theft in your neck of the woods?
Not too much, but I am aware that like in construction housing areas and stuff, that's always a concern. They have to lock up all the copper from the thieves that think it's an easy steal at construction sites.
Yeah, and if they get into a house that people are gone on vacation, they actually take all the copper pipes and typically they flood the house. How much time we got?
You got about 7 minutes.
All right, well, let's go to our taxpayer relief shots. And for those who are new to the program, why do we call them taxpayer relief shot? Well, here's the sheriff of Santa Rosa County explaining it to you.
Somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully, you'll save the taxpayers money.
And let's go to Sheriff Grady Judd. Here we go.
I would highly suggest that if a looter breaks into your home, comes into your home while you're there to steal stuff, that you take your gun and you shoot him. You shoot him so that he looks like grated cheese.
And again, as we talked here, you take a thug and you give him a court-appointed attorney. He gets a couple of appeals. That's $200,000 in legal fees, and then 10 years in jail at $80,000 a year. That's $1 million to put a thug in jail. That's why we call them taxpayer relief shots. So this one comes to us. We seem to have an awful lot from Texas, and maybe that's because a lot of Texas homeowners own guns, and because we don't get a lot of these, out of Maryland and other places like that, where Massachusetts, where it's very difficult to buy and keep a gun. But here's a couple of guys dress up as cops and try to stage a home invasion in Houston. Here we go.
Breaking news this morning, surveillance footage captures the moments that gunshots rang out during a violent home invasion on Houston's east side.
Police say two men posing as officers actually tried to force their way inside a home, but the owners there fired back. Our Rochelle Turner is live from that home with what we've learned this morning. Rochelle, you also spoke to neighbors.
Kathy and Brittany, good morning to you. Yes, we've been speaking to people here in the past hour or so. Many of them told us that they heard those gunshots last night, but right now they're too afraid to speak to us on camera because they tell us that these shootings happen too often. Now, here's the scene right here behind us. You can see the police here on the scene. They have been here since 11 o'clock last night. We've been seeing people try to come through here, maybe go to the other side or maybe pick someone up, and police are not letting anyone get through this area. What we can tell you is that this all happened around 11 o'clock last night. Police tell us that there were two guys. They were dressed up as if they were police officers, posed as officers. They were wearing masks. They were armed. They even had bulletproof vests. And
I want to pause it right there. She says bulletproof. What the police wear are ballistic vests that will stop a knife or a pistol bullet, but they won't stop a rifle bullet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to that after we finish that. So they were dressed as cops wearing ballistic vests, not bulletproof vests.
And were wearing badges. They tried to go inside of a home. This is at the 4800 block of Bell Knoll, which is right here in southeast Houston. They tried to enter that home, and that's when police tell us that the homeowners opened fire. He shot two of the suspects and then killing them here on the scene. And we know that right now detectives are still trying to figure out exactly who these guys are and why they were targeting this home. But I do want you to take a minute right now to listen to the surveillance video we were able to get from a neighbor.
No, there's not much dialogue. It's just doorbell. But I want to come back to ballistic vests. First of all, there is such thing as a bulletproof vest, and soldiers in Afghanistan, they have these vests that have steel plates in them, and they will stop a rifle bullet. So these guys were wearing the typical police officer ballistic vests, which will stop a 9mm pistol bullet, or they'll stop a knife. So, but since the homeowner was able to kill these two guys, he had to do one of two things. If he had his own pistol, he had to shoot him in the head. But what I think is more, you know what I think was more likely than shoot him in the head?
What?
I think he had an AR-15 style rifle, because an AR-15 rifle bullet
Not
will,
by a bulletproof or a ballistic vest.
yeah, it won't be. So I'm guessing, and it's probably good that he did, because if he was just, because typically when you're shooting in self-defense, I always tell you center of mass, which is the center of the chest.
Yeah.
Because if he was just shooting at these guys with a 9mm pistol, he wouldn't have killed them, and maybe he'd be dead right now. So I'm gonna
And those, and I'm guessing in Texas, I don't know the law in Texas, but I'm guessing that those guns are actually legal in Texas.
Oh yeah, they're legal in 46 states, I think.
Yeah.
It's only a few places you can't have them. And by the way, more than 20 million of those have been sold in the past 10 years. It's one of the most, and it's also widely used for hunting. So AR-15, by the way, knowledgeable people, it's referred to as the modern sporting rifle. It's a great rifle. You can change the length of the buttstock if you're wearing heavy winter clothes or summer clothes and whatever. And it's lightweight. It doesn't rust. There's no wood. It doesn't warp. So it's just a great all-around hunting gun. It also makes a great home defense gun. And I'm willing to bet you this homeowner had an AR-15 style rifle. And because it was a rifle, he was able to penetrate their ballistic vest, which is probably why he's alive today and they're dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, any comments you want to add before we sign off?
When are people going to learn you don't mess with Texas?
Don't mess with Texas is right, because we have, I'm going to guess half our taxpayer relief routes come out of Texas, and the thugs wind up DRT, dead right there.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway,
did you ever figure out what the blood alcohol was on that Southwest pilot?
I know. I actually did a ton of research and didn't
find it.
I must have read 6 different reports and never found a blood alcohol. Nobody reported.
I'm just curious about that.
Yep. No, I did do a lot of research and couldn't find a single report that mentioned his blood alcohol. Anyway, want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast, for giving up 30 minutes out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on things I found of interest and importance. And I hope you found them, at least some of those topics, interesting and important as I did. And if so, hope you continue to listen to the podcast in the weeks and months to come. Now, if you want to see some of the materials and story links you heard me talk about today, you can find them on the Jerzee Joe website at jerzeejoe.com, with Jersey being spelled J-E-R as in Robert, Z as in zebra, E-E, J-E-R-Z-E-E, jerzeejoe.com. Just give producer Susan a day or two to get the links up on the website. But if you want me to send some of those links to you directly, I'll be happy to send you a link. So if you want to just email me with a comment, question, or show topic, or you want to ask for one of the links, you can do that just by sending me an email to just joe@jerzeejoe.com. Just remember to spell Jersey with an R, a Z, and 2 E's. And with that, producer Susan, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Yeah, so which high school is Rutgers playing this weekend?
I have no clue. I'm sure you could look it up. I don't follow Rutgers football. All right.
Wait, you live in Jersey and you don't follow your Jersey?
Don't follow Rutgers football. All right, producer Susan, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.